Hi everyone, Cosmic Mango here, your favourite mango from out of space. I hope you're all doing well today. With the recent spoilers from the new upcoming set Dominaria United, we have seen some wonderful new commanders. Many of them look incredibly fun to play, and in this video I've chosen to talk about Ivy Gleeful Spellthief. Ivy Spellthief allows us to copy spells, and copying spells is always fun. So in today's video, I'm going to be talking about some budget cards that you should pick up for Ivy. Okay, let's get into the list. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. I'm going to start off with showing you Ivy, Gleeful Spellthief, and reading the card text. Ivy is a legendary fairy rogue creature that costs 1 blue and 1 green mana to cast. She has 2 power and 1 toughness. The card says the following: Flying. Whenever a player casts a spell that targets only a single creature other than Ivy, Gleeful Spellthief, you may copy that spell. The copy targets Ivy. A copy of an aura spell becomes a token. So, as we can see, Ivy rewards us for casting spells on another target creature. As we cast it, Ivy triggers, and then the spell may be copied, targeting herself. Please note that it says whenever a player casts a spell. So if your opponents were to cast a spell buffing up one of their creatures, you can then choose to copy that spell, targeting your Ivy and buffing her up as well. It sounds like a very fun mechanic to work around and to play around, and it will keep your opponents on their toes, as auras and enchantments they cast can highly benefit you. I think Voltron decks are going to have a really bad time against Ivy, as the more opponents buff up their creature, in return, you're buffing up your Ivy. Ivy costs 2 mana to cast, making her a very fast commander to get into the battlefield. I think she's going to be a very powerful and also a very popular commander. We're going to be seeing her a lot for sure. Okay, now let's get into the budget pickup guide. Please note that the majority of spells in this pickup guide will be auras, as I believe they're probably the best route when it comes to building an Ivy deck. So, let's go. Let's start with the instant and sorcery spells. Double Major, an instant spell that costs 1 green and 1 blue mana. It says the following: copy target creature spell you control, except it isn't legendary if the spell is legendary. A copy of a creature spell becomes a token. This spell is superb, because if you have Ivy on the field, you can copy your creatures, then Ivy will trigger, and you'll also get to copy your Ivy. We get to keep this copy too because the legendary rule doesn't apply. It's amazing. You can have 2 Ivies with this card and it only costs 2 mana. You can buy this card for just $2. It's definitely worth getting. Irencius Vile Duplication. I hope I pronounced that right. This is a sorcery spell that costs 1 blue and 3 colorless mana. It says the following: create a token that's a copy of target creature you control, except the token has flying and it isn't legendary if that creature is legendary. So yeah, this is similar to the card I just spoke about. It's another great card, like Double Major before. We can copy our commander Ivy. It's a lot of fun. We're going to have a great time if we're casting these type of spells in an Ivy deck. You can buy this card for around $2. It's around the same price. Viridescent Wisps, an instant spell that costs 1 green mana. It says the following: target creature becomes green and gets +1/+0 until the end of turn. Draw a card. I love this card. I think it's going to be really good in Ivy. You pay 1 mana, which is a really small amount. You buff up your creature in the return, and then you also get to buff up your Ivy. And then you get to draw cards as well, because it says there, draw a card. It's pretty cool, and it's at instant speed, so you know it can really help you out in certain situations. It's only about 40 cents to buy as well, so you give it a go, try it out. Hunter's Insight, an instant spell that costs 1 green and 2 colorless mana. It says the following: choose target creature you control. Whenever that creature deals combat damage to a player or planeswalker this turn, draw that many cards. So, you pick one of your creatures, which will trigger Ivy. Then if both Ivy and the targeted creature deal damage, you will be drawing lots of cards. It's great! How can you go wrong with this? You can buy this card for just 29 cents. Awesome. Shadow Rift. What a cool name for a card. Can we just appreciate that for a second? Shadow Rift. I love it. So, this card costs 1 blue mana and it's an instant. It says the following: target creature gains shadow until the end of turn. which means it can't be blocked by only... Oh, sorry, it can be blocked or blocked by creatures with shadow. Pretty cool. Draw a card. Being able to make creatures evasive with shadow is super cool. And then we also get to draw cards. Remember, Ivy is on the battlefield and she triggers. We pretty much get another free version of this spell targeting her. It's very good. You can buy this card for around $1.70. Tamiyo Safekeeping. An instant spell that costs 1 green mana. It says the following. Target permanent you control gains hexproof and indestructible until the end of the turn. You gain 2 life. I think this card is going to be played a lot in Ivy decks. You can protect one of your creatures, which in return will trigger Ivy and protect herself, all for just 1 mana. We can even survive board wipes as we gain indestructible. The card is very, very good. In fact, you should be running this in any deck that has green. It's really good at protecting your commanders. You can buy this card for around $1.40. So those are the instants and sorceries I would recommend. Now, let's move on to the next stage of the video. Let's discuss the creatures I would recommend for an Ivy deck that you can also buy on a budget. Remember, this is all budget friendly, my friends. Storm Chaser Drake. A Drake that costs 1 blue mana and 1 colorless mana. It says the following. Flying. Whenever Storm Chaser Drake becomes a target of a spell you control, draw a card. So this card will help you draw a lot of cards in an Ivy deck. Whenever we target this Drake with a spell, we draw a card. Then if Ivy is on the battlefield, the spell is copied onto her. It's a win-win. It's a very good and efficient card for just 2 mana. It's going to draw you loads. You can buy this card for around 25 cents, so why not try it out? Pouncing Shore Shark. A shark beast that costs 1 blue mana and 4 colorless mana to cast. It says the following. Mutate 3 and 1 blue. Flash. Whenever this creature mutates, you may return target creature an opponent controls sits on his hand. It's got mutate, it's an Ivy deck, you know the drill. Lots of fun with this card. You can buy this card for around 25 cents. Eidolon of Blossoms. An enchantment spirit creature that costs 2 green and 2 colorless mana to cast. It says the following. Constellation. Whenever Eidolon of Blossoms or another enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, draw a card. So, in an Ivy deck, we are running a lot of enchantments, which is likely going to benefit us massively with Eidolon on the field, as every time we play one, we get to draw cards. You can buy this card for around $3.99. So those are the creatures. Now, let's discuss enchantments / auras. Snake Umbra. An enchantment aura that costs 1 green and 2 colorless mana. It says the following. Enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1 and has. Whenever this creature deals damage to an opponent, you may draw a card. So the idea here is to enchant, hopefully, an evasive creature you control, something with flying or unblockable, for example. Then, having Ivy on the field will cause her to trigger, and this spell will be copied onto her as well, as a token, giving you 2 creatures that if they deal damage to an opponent, you get to draw a card. This card is amazing in Commander. We also get Totem Armor, which is just fantastic. And you can buy this card for just 59 cents. Combat Research. An enchantment aura spell that costs 1 blue mana. It says the following. Enchant creature. Enchant creature has, whenever this creature deals combat damage to player, draw a card. As long as the enchanted creature is legendary, it gets +1/+1 and has ward 1. So we get some excellent card draw here, similar to the Snake Umbra that I discussed before, and we also get to buff up our creatures chosen and give them ward 1 if they are legendary. So much good stuff for just 1 mana. The card's ridiculous. And even more amazing is the price. You can get this card for just 30 cents. Shielding Plaques. An enchantment aura that costs 1 green or blue and 2 colorless mana. It says the following. Enchant creature. When Shielding Plaques enters the battlefield, draw a card. Enchanted creature can't be the target of spells or abilities your opponents control. So we target one of our creatures, we draw a card, then we give it pseudo hexproof. And guess what? If Ivy's on the field, we get to draw another card and give her pseudo hexproof too. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Super, super good. You can buy this card for just 20 cents. Season of Growth. An enchantment spell that costs 1 green and 1 colorless mana. It says the following. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, scry 1. Whenever you cast a spell that targets a creature you control, draw a card. This card is absolutely nuts in an Ivy deck. Just think about how many cards you're going to be drawing if you have this and an Ivy on the battlefield at the same time. It only costs 2 mana. 2 mana! It's an absolute must for any Ivy deck. You can buy this card for around $2, so the price tag is good. Now, let's discuss the artifacts. Mirror Box. An artifact spell that costs 3 colorless mana, and it says the following. The legend rule doesn't apply to permanents you control. Each legendary creature you control gets +1/+1. Each non-token creature you control gets +1/+1 for each other creature you control with the same name as that creature. So if you're thinking about building a deck with loads of spells that can copy Ivy, then this card is fantastic, as it will bypass the legendary rule for you, meaning you can easily copy your beautiful commander without worrying of them disappearing and blowing the other one up because of the legendary rule. This card costs around $1.70. Swiftboot Boots. This is a video about Commander. I'm sure you all know what Swiftboot does. I mean, come on, everyone knows what this card does in Commander. But hey, let's have a look. Swiftboot Boots is an artifact equipment spell that costs 2 colorless mana, and it says the following. Equipped creature has hexproof and haste. Equip 1. We want Ivy to stay on the field for as long as possible. This card is going to help with that. It only costs 2 mana to cast, 1 mana to equip. It's a must-play card, I believe, in an Ivy deck. And you can buy this card for around $1.99. So yes, I hope you enjoyed my list. Ivy really looks powerful, and I'm excited to try her out. Please leave a comment on what you think of the cards I've chosen. It's always fun to chat with you in the comments. Make sure to drop a like and subscribe if you did enjoy this video. Thanks so much for watching. If you made it this far, you are a legend. And bye bye.